dazed and overwhelmed, the shine of which has caught my eye and rendered me so isolated, so motivated. I am certain now that I am vindicated.
Welcome to Three People Talking About a Subject They're Helplessly Confused By, with Trevor Riffenberg, Lucas Owens. I'm Patrick Sorey. Today the subject is film and TV tax credits. We will be looking into the direct economic impacts and if we think they should still be used. With that said, here is our first speaker, Trevor Riffenberg.
In California, the film industry is massive. So massive that for a time the state did not feel a need to provide tax credits to encourage filmmaking. However, this all changed in the 1990s when the country of Canada started adding incentives to drive film productions up north. It is estimated that in just the year of 1998, a staggering $10.8 billion was lost to the U.S. economy due to the increase in film production in Canada. The United States would not wait too long, however, as the first state to pass a law allowing for film and tax credits, Louisiana, did so in 2001. Louisiana saw rapid growth in both their film industry and their economy as a whole. So many other states, including Georgia and California, followed suit. Today, almost every single state has a form of tax credits for film production. As one could expect, with the growth of tax credits, the film and TV industry grew as well. Due to this vast growth, now 21 million people are employed in the film industry, and $139 million worth of wages are paid each year. To see the true economic impact of this production, let's take a look at how the production of Paramount's movie Bumblebee could help grow the economy. Using the marginal propensity to save in the United States for those who most likely work in the film industry, we will see the money multiplier of the money multiplier for this group, which is about 10%. The production cost of Bumblebee, which is about $102 million, multiplied by our money multiplier, could yield up to $1.02 billion in economic growth. This is a staggering number for just the $20 million that the state of California would have given the film through tax credits. Other countries are now following suit, such as India and South Korea. South Korea's film industry contributed 17.45 trillion won to their GDP, which is about 1.6% of their national output, and contributed about 300,000 jobs in Korea due to the film industry, which was about 1.2% of their total national employment. The largest growth in the South Korean film industry was from 2005 to 2011. The film industry grew 84% and contributed to the nation's 3.8% GDP growth. This was massive, and the growth of the Korean film industry is still continuing today. We can see that not only can the film industry be powerful in the United States economy, but in other economies around the world as well.
That was just Trevor Riffenberg. Now, to talk specifically about the state of Georgia and give an inside look into the tax credit program, it's Lucas S.S. Owens.
Cinema, simulated life, no drama, forthright culture, Americana, came to the dream they got you searching for, the thin line between entertainment and war. There be no shelter here.
Thank you, Trevor. The fantastic state of Georgia started to give film tax credits in the year of 2002. However, they only really got into the game in 2005 when they signed into law the Georgia Entertainment Industry Investment Act, granting qualified productions a transferable film tax credit of 20% of in-state costs for production investments, with an additional 10% for embedding the Georgia film logo within the credits of said production. When the tax credit program started, the state spent only $10.3 million per year on tax credits. By 2017, this number soared to an amazing $2.7 billion. Now, I know what you're thinking. Lucas, don't you see how ridiculously huge that number is for a state that doesn't even run a surplus? Well, to that I say you should look at how much these tax credits have helped the economy in the state of Georgia grow. For example, in 2017, the state spent a direct $2.7 billion to generate about $9.7 billion in direct economic input to the state through production companies. Now again, using the money multiplier for this money spent like Trevor did with California earlier, with the average propensity to save at about 10%, this amounts to an absolutely insane $97 billion of money growth off of $2.7 billion spent.
That's a lot of damage!
Of course, this is all theoretical, as no number could exactly be produced off of how much Georgia spends, but it just goes to show how much bringing in productions can do for a state economy. The tax credit program has brought behemoth productions to Georgia that would have never come beforehand. Georgia, because of their intense spending on the film and TV tax credit program, has brought stupendous growth to the now southern capital of the U.S. film industry. There is, however, and somewhat rightfully deserved, criticism of such large outputs. Many have suggested that the film and TV tax credits only directly benefit the most fortunate, and that the money used to bring businesses to this area should be used somewhere else. However, this is simply not the case. While yes, a fair amount of the people who work on a film set are pretty well off, there are hundreds more on each set who are just working class local citizens who directly benefit from having these jobs in their backyard. Georgia has also recently been on edge about their film tax credit program because of the results of this last midterm election where Brian Kemp narrowly beat Stacey Abrams in the race for governor, but not without some very heavy and very sound claims of voter suppression. This outraged some people in the film industry, such as Bradley Whitford and Ron Perlman, who wish to take their industry out of his state because it is, to quote actress Alyssa Milano, supporting the economy of a totally corrupt state that suppresses democracy. However, these actions appear to be somewhat misguided, as by withdrawing from Georgia, film and production companies would miss out on these tax credits and also take with them some of the 92,000 jobs the industry brought to the state just in the last year. I believe that this movement is too reactionary, as while it is important to always have free elections and always strive for that ideal, it is not so much that people who are completely unrelated or even, for the most part, supporting of these movements for free elections should be the ones to directly suffer from such a boycott. And with that, we now go to Patrick, who's going to talk a little more about tax credit programs in different states.
In Pennsylvania, a tax credit system has been instituted which is still fairly new. This is an interesting example because it allows us to see a potential outcome of tax credits being introduced today instead of 20 years ago. To begin, Pennsylvania's tax credit system for films has a $60 million annual cap with a maximum of 25% of that amount being spent on any one film production. This is quite a bit smaller and more reserved than Georgia's tax credit system, which we spoke of earlier, but it still attracts film productions nonetheless. For example, Creed 2 was approved for $16.7 million to film the majority of the movie in Pennsylvania. While Pennsylvania is a small state, a good amount of economic development could occur if it continues to expand its tax credit system for films. This is confirmed by a 2013 report from the Philadelphia Independent Fiscal Office. This report explored what the possible outcomes of a tax credit system with no caps would look like in Pennsylvania. It found that for the state of Pennsylvania, the state received 14 cents for every dollar it spent on tax credits. This means that the state would gain anywhere from $7.5 million to $14.9 million, but the state would lose $46 million to $93 million. This is a huge deficit of money for the state, but something that the report did not explore is how much money multiplying effects would increase the wealth of Pennsylvania and in turn increase the state's revenue from taxes. While we are unable to explore to what extent this would increase state revenue, we can be assured that the deficit of money that the state would experience would be smaller. To get a clearer view of just how widely state revenue is affected by tax credits, let's look at New York. In 2015 and 2016, New York state government gave out $1.45 billion in tax credits, and the state and local governments received $1.5 billion from tax revenue due to those tax credits. This is vastly different from our example in Pennsylvania. Not only did New York break even in 2015 and 2016, but they actually made money in tax revenue from their tax credit. By looking at this, we can see that there can be a vast array of outcomes for the state government, but one thing that is held constant is the benefit for the people of these states. For example, in the same 2015 to 2016 time period in New York, 70,000 jobs were estimated to be created in the filming industry. That's a lot of jobs to be created over the course of 2 years, which otherwise would not have been created. On top of new jobs, on any given day of filming, up to $250,000 can be injected into a local economy. This means that the film industry also has the ability to grow local economies by a grand scale in a matter of days. This shows the true potential of the film industry. Within a matter of days, thousands of dollars could be injected into an area which had previously seen little economic development. So, in the end, it comes down to how much tax credits benefit taxpayers and whether they are worth the amount taxpayers contribute. Many jobs can be created for taxpayers, which is easily measured, but seeing how much money can be multiplied because of these tax credits is not as simple of a task, and we have no research yet to see that impact. In the future, we hope to see more research conducted, which would provide a much clearer picture of whether tax credits for the film industry are worth it.
Thank you, Patrick. I really agree with your last point there, that although there is not much professional research on this topic yet, we can still get a clearer picture on how tax credits affect the film industry in countries as a whole. Overall, we agree that using tax credits is a great way to improve the economic conditions of localities, but there should be local controlled regulations on tax credits and a lot more research conducted on their benefits. One option we believe would be nice is having a commission supervise film tax credits on a state level to see if it is actually economically viable and worth the money spent to a local economy. We believe this could help states decide to use tax credits and also see just how much they can afford to if they do choose to use tax credits to incentivize productions and businesses to come to their states. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.
Dude, this is a Wendy's restaurant.